Climbers, we have a special treat for you today, an interview with Berkeley Kriz, who is an artist manager with Starstruck Management here in Nashville, and they oversee the careers of artists like Blake Shelton, Carly Pearce, Pryor Baird, and more. We asked a lot of questions, as you can imagine, and she gave us all the answers. You don't want to miss this one. There's a lot to learn. Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business so that you can get to places like Starstruck Management, okay? Mm-hmm. We want you to win. That's why we called it the Climb, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a backstream from a good friend of goes, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's a hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, number ones in Southern Gospel, top tens in Texas Red Dirt Radio, and top tens in Australia. But none of that matters to you. What you care about is how is he going to help you become pro as a songwriter. I'm going to tell you, he's going to teach you and reveal how to write like a pro and teach you and reveal how to do business like a pro. And then on a regular basis, he's going to get you in front of the pros that can change your career and help you climb that ladder. This happens all the time. And you can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but he's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
What's up, brother?
Man.
Just got back from Mexico. I just got married.
Happy married. Welcome to Married Life, Johnny. Congratulations, brother, man. I'm so happy for you. And I'm just happy to be able to say the words, Janelle Dwinell.
I know. Isn't it great? Like
right off the tongue.
I said that to her on the very first date we had. I was just like, have you ever seen The Wedding Singer? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you know the part with Julia Gulia? She's like, yeah, that's really funny. Oh, and I'm like, listen, if this works out, you still got room to run for the door. You still got time. You can just you can tap out now because you just need to know that's what the light at the end of the tunnel. It's a train, and it looks like that, the Dwinell train. You know, that was fun. But man, I got to give a shout out to some people for that too. What an incredible. We had 4 days in Puerto Penasco, Mexico, that everybody went down to, which is it's a really beautiful place. It's a 4-hour drive from Phoenix, and one of our artist friends, Brent Michael Wood, who's been co-writing with a bunch of my artists for years, was our officiant and did a fantastic job. And TJ Box was down there. She wrote a song with Trent Tomlinson and Gary LaVox, the lead singer from Rascal Flatts, called Make It Rhyme. And it hasn't been officially released yet. It may or may not become a Rascal Flatts song. We're not sure yet. Yeah. But there was a live concert performance that Gary did as a solo artist, and this was included on it that you can hear it. But Janelle and I were I think we had it whittled down to like 3 songs that we were going to have to be our first dance after we were married. And then we were at the Freak Show one time, and she sang that song, and we were aware of that song. We had heard it before, but I just looked at Janelle. I'm like, that's the song, you know. Yeah. And so we went up to Terry and to Terry Joe, and we're like, you know, hey, we want to use that song. She's like, well, I'll come sing it for you. And we're like, what? So awesome. She went down. Brent Michael would play guitar. She sang the song, and we just got so many comments on that. People were like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And for them, I mean, it's really cool. They're not in the music industry, you know, so everybody was just kind of like, oh my God, this is a #1 song. I mean, it's just so good.
It's good. It's really
before it hits someone, you can tell people, you know, I heard the first dance to because this will become one of those songs that will be everybody's first dance at a wedding. Yeah. And we got the first dance at the wedding for that. So shout out to TJ, nice. Shout out to Brent Michael Wood, you guys, and everybody that showed up. It was awesome. It was great.
Love it.
I had to say that. But anyway, man, this interview was so freaking great. We're gonna bring her back on and talk about just touring, right? Berkeley,
Yes.
Kriz, like giving up her time with that, working at the level that she's working at with her clientele under Starstruck Management. And I mean, how much did you learn on this interview? Like,
A lot, a lot. So just so many value bombs in this about just, if you're an aspiring artist, how that works. If you're a songwriter, just knowing more how the management side works for these artists that you're working with. I mean, kind of wherever you fall in the business, this stuff is important to know just so you can conversate about it intelligently. Your buddies that are, hoping to get record deals and management deals, for you to understand and help navigate that with them, or just know where the pieces fits, kind of wherever you are. This has got something for you. It's really good. Berkeley,
yeah, this is a really.
She knows what she's talking about.
There is clarity here, and I think some of the responses that she gave, might surprise you actually. 'Cause there's a lot of people that have a certain way of thinking about what happens when you get to the level when somebody like Starstruck wants to come out and work with you, and they do work with indie artists, by the way, which is totally cool, not just major label artists. And what that looks like for the artist. Right.
Yeah.
And we covered some of that, and we covered some like the release strategies that they have and what goes on with that. I think it's going to be very, very eye-opening for everybody. So we can't wait to get to that. But before we do, let's take care of a little business.
Yes.
We want you to join the C.L.I.M.B community on Facebook, guys. This is a boatload of singers, songwriters, indie artists, indie musicians. They're all helping each other out. It's a great community. It's very vibrant. We are posting news and different kinds of updates on tech and stuff like that in there. It's a place you can stay informed. It's a place where you can also shout out yourself, man. We want to hear your new music on New Music Mondays as a comment on that post. We want to hear about your gigs on Gig Alert every Thursday as a comment on that post. And finally, we want to love all over you on the air here, as it were, with the podcast. With your wins on Wednesday, which is called the New Heights post. Put a comment in there, and then we're going to shout you out on the podcast. So what do we got today, Brent, for that?
Yes. So today, climber Kelly JD wrote on this track and put a screenshot of Styles. He's a new country artist. The song is called God's Grocery Store, and it features Craig Campbell, so friend of the show, artist,
Nice.
writer. And so that's Styles is, man, the good stuff. A lot of features on that record, and he's doing well. And then climber Brad Hacker says, signing my second single song contract for the year with a hard pipe hitting publisher. Earlier this year, I signed for Haunted House, written with Michael Parker and Chris Tiscarino. And today I'm signing Devil Loves a Cold One, written with Rick Ambergy and Brent Baxter. So, hey, I know.
Congrats. I didn't know about the
Guys.
single song contract. Way to go, Hacker. Way to go, Brent Baxter.
Well, thank you very much. So, yeah, I had a lot of fun writing that song with Brad and with Rick, and I'm glad that our publisher friend digs it and is going to work it from their end of it. And we song titled the crap out of that one.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we just need to come on and do a show about that, because that we worked for that one. And apparently it's been rewarded so far. So I'm happy for those guys.
I love that, man. Well, congratulations to everybody there. And, finally, make sure you follow the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on, and tell a friend about it. Let other people know. We're trying to get some bigger brains in here than ours to disseminate information for you that can help you improve your career. And this is going to help whoever your friends are, man. Turn them on to the podcast. And with that, let's get right into this interview with Berkeley Kriz from Starstruck Management.
Today's guest is a manager with Starstruck Management, working with clients including Blake Shelton, Carly Pearce, Emily Ann Roberts, Maggie Rose, Pryor Baird, and she has also worked with APA Talent and TKO Artist Management before Starstruck. And we look forward to diving into all kinds of stuff with her today. So we're just going to keep the intro short and get into it. Berkeley Kriz, welcome to the Climb.
Welcome, Berkeley.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi.
Absolutely.
And I did say your last name right? We just met.
You said it right.
It-
Yes. Kriz is correct.
Right.
I love
better
that.
just on that now, or it's going to bug me the rest of the meeting.
You got it. You nailed it.
I've never heard Berkeley as a first name either. I like that. That's cool.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah,
very
it's
good.
I've heard it's funny as an adult, I've met a few people who have the first name Berkeley.
Really?
Usually it's a guy though. I've only met one other female Berkeley ever. And she
Really?
actually lives in Nashville. Totally random.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I love that. So are your offices at Starstruck on the row? Where the
Yes.
studio is?
Where I am right now. Yes, sir.
I
Right
love
on the
that
road.
facility. I love
Yeah.
that
It's the
facility.
best, right?
I have worked
It is
a
such a
lot
great
there,
place.
and it's always a good day at Starstruck, man, in their
I'm
recording
so glad to
studio.
hear it. It's very convenient for us and our artists having everything all in one place. Studios,
Amen.
glam room, writing rooms, all the
Mhm.
stuff. It's awesome.
One of my favorite memories of Starstruck is actually I wasn't in the building. I wasn't writing there. I was across the street. This was like 10, 15 years ago. It was a while
Okay.
back. And so it was some publishing company across the street. And I looked over and I'm like, because y'all had the you at least at the time had the water stuff, like the
Yep,
little
we still have
pond
it. Yep.
pool, out front. And I'm like, that is Mark Bright, so hit producer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Luke Bryan, and Luke is like showing him how to cast like a fishing rod, like it looked like fly fishing in the little pond in front of Starstruck.
No, he was
There on
not.
Music Row. Oh yeah,
my gosh, that's
It's all on the wrist, Mark. This is how you do it.
yeah. I'm like, this is some legit Nashville stuff. I'm living the dream. This is great.
That is a story about our building I have not heard.
Yes.
That's
So
awesome.
that was from across the street. It's true.
That's Nashville's. I got a Luke Bryan story just out of the back of the studio we met at. He almost ran me over.
Oh, God.
And his truck. Actually, he didn't see me. It was, but then he's like, "Man, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like he didn't hit me or anything. Like it was just funny, but it was like one of those weird. In the alley, it gets a little congested.
Yep.
It was
Alley
very
can do that.
innocent, but very. I'm like, "Wow, that's cool." I almost got hit by Luke Bryan. Like that would have been.
Now you got a story to
I'd have
tell.
made the news. Yeah, like, how cool is that? I'm gonna be famous. I'll make you famous. Like.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
our job isn't to make Luke famous, is to with Blake and Carly and Emily Ann and Maggie and Pryor, making them more famous.
Yes.
So let's dive into that. So you're an artist manager, and you mentioned that you do day to day for Blake and Emily Ann and Pryor. And
And prior, yeah.
what is that? Just for people at home. what's
Well,
art-
but before we get to that, can I just
Yes.
go up to 60,000 feet and say you handle day to day? If there were like, how you have navigation tabs on the top of websites, like the main ones.
Yep.
What are like the main navigation tabs of Starstruck management? Day to day is one.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other just main tabs? And then we're going to chunk down into yours.
So you've got obviously manager, and that is Narvel Blackstock. He is the head of the company. It's his company. He manages every client that we work with, which I also forgot to mention, we have a new artist, Ty Myers, that we work with as well.
Oh, cool.
Amazing. 17-year-old kid out of Texas. Phenomenal.
Okay.
So Narvel, manager, he is literally part of every single artist's career that we have here at
Okay.
Starstruck. Then we have a couple different day-to-day managers. We've got our support team of we've got an assistant. We have a head of digital marketing and social media, and she helps out with all of our clients. And then we have more support staff that handle building operations and finance and different things like that. Admin for some of the songwriting and publishing and different things like that. And then
Fascinating.
of course, we have our studios and all that stuff that are part of Starstruck Entertainment overall. But on the management side, those are really the core folks.
Very cool. Okay, now let's talk about your day to day. Thank you for that. I just wanted to see what the nav tabs look like.
So I've actually got sort of an analogy to describe what I do that I came up with a long time ago, and it seems to really help explain our part of the business to people who aren't really involved in the music industry at all, especially. So if you imagine, give me an artist that you like to listen to. Anybody?
Blake Shelton.
Oh, come on, I'll take it. All right. So Blake Shelton, imagine that he is the sun, and all the planets that are revolving around him are different aspects of his career. So you've got the record label would be a planet, the booking agency who handles show booking, tours, all that kind of stuff. Publishing would be another one. Ole Red would be another one. So any like sponsorships, brands, endorsement deals, all that kind of stuff. So
Television. Yeah.
exactly. TV, when he was doing The Voice, film, all different planets that are going around Blake as the sun.
Mhm.
So our job as managers is to make sure that those planets are making the sun shine the absolute brightest it possibly can.
Mhm.
So the manager, and this is not sacrilegious at all, I'm very religious, but the manager is kind of like God overseeing those planets, making sure they're keeping the sun shining bright. And
Mhm.
I'm like the guardian angel handling all of the details every day, every night for everything that goes on with all of those planets for that shiny sun.
Very
That's
cool.
how I describe it.
Making sure the planets align.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keeping them on their toes, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
So, of all the people on the planet, you probably understand the devil's in the details more than anybody else.
Oh my gosh, I live and die by the details. Live and die by the details. 100%.
You have to have almost like an attorney like mind to
Yes.
be able to read through the lines and see where the bodies are buried before your son trips over them, to use your
Yes,
analogy, right?
exactly. Hopefully the sun never even needs to know about the bodies.
Right, that's right. Just walk this way. There's nothing to see over here. Like,
Nothing
come this
to
way.
see here. Nothing to see here.
Well, what's going on over there? Nothing you need to know about that. But
Don't you worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
That's Pluto.
Exactly.
That was a planet. It's not a planet anymore. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
Never.
So I'll bet you got some stories about that, like some crazy stuff that
Yes.
you've had to deal with. Anything you want to share? We don't have to mention any names.
I have been very blessed. I've been at Starstruck this upcoming February. It'll be 10 years.
Cool.
And
Congrats.
so I have seen and heard all kinds of things. But I am super, super lucky that, no joke, the artists that I work with here and the people that I work with are phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is really mostly drama free, thankfully. We all really get along great and have a whole lot of fun together.
Oh,
There
perfect.
are certainly times where, things hit the fan and you gotta put out some fires, so to speak, and scramble. But most of the time it's crazy busy, but it's not dramatic.
So day to day, are you doing
I
a
got
lot
you,
of you're scheduling a lot, right? Like what
There's
is
a
a
lot of
day in the artist of like
scheduling.
Blake Shelton look like? Like he's got to be slammed a lot of the time, right?
He is. So I guess I could give you an example. Like, let's say he has new music coming out at some point or something like that. So let's say when we're releasing a single, there's so much that goes into the planning of that, like with the record label, for example.
Oh my gosh,
So-
I love this. Can you just drill down on that a little bit and say, like, before he releases a single, how far before the date of the single dropping are you working and planning on stuff?
I mean, ideally, you would have a couple of months.
Yes.
Sometimes you have weeks.
Okay.
So it really just kind of depends on, finding that incredible song. As you get that song, and it's not always in the release schedule, the ideal release schedule. Sometimes
Right.
it just ends up getting dropped in your lap and you're like, this is so timely. It's so perfect for what's going on right now. We've got to get this out. And you may have 6 weeks to plan. And so in that planning time, you've got to get a photo shoot done so that you can have new photos for single art. You need a new lead press image. You've got everything getting booked as far as radio interviews and radio liners, TV appearances. I mean, all of that kind of stuff, music video shoots. You got to get lyric videos planned. So even the things that the artist is not actually personally involved with, we are planning all of the
Those
details,
cogs
make
are
sure
part of the
all that
machine.
stuff,
Yeah.
comes out at the right time to promote the single. So you have a big splash when it comes out, but then you have to have, the rest of the tail after that to keep the single going, because then you're worried about, well, we've got to get it to number one and when is the goal to get it to number one? So we can tie that in with something else. Maybe award season is around the corner. So you've got all different aspects going into promoting this one song. And with an album, it's that times 12 or however many songs there are on the album. So it can be pretty crazy.
Are you
I would
guys?
imagine you have a playbook, right? Like, do you like standard operate? Is it in your head?
In the brain.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness!
Really?
My brain scares me way too much. I have checklists for, and my stuff is piddly compared to what y'all are doing. That's amazing.
I mean, it really kind of depends, so thankfully, at least when it comes to like a single release, the label has, they will have like a release schedule of things that are like, okay, we need this. We have to have the single art turned in by this day. So we back it up from there. We have to have a photo shoot done by this day. So we have time to select the photos, get them retouched, then get it over to creative to have the art created based on the photo. So they'll kind of put in the big placeholders for what's needed, and then we back it up from there on what has to happen before that deadline in order to make it happen.
Gotcha.
See, and I think the key teaching moment here for our listeners, okay? They're looking at the dates and they're backing up from there to determine the schedule. And, the number one of the number one issues I see with amateur artists is like they're all about getting the drop date and setting up the party for the drop date and then trying to figure out what to do after that. And it's like, no, man, like, 8 weeks, still not enough time, right? It's a
100%.
mad boatload of work that has to be done, has to be executed. And if you're not planning that prior to and backing that up, then it's going to fall apart. The wheels are going to come off and someone's going to be in trouble,
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that a lot of newer artists or artists that maybe don't have like full representation don't realize is that with putting songs out to DSPs, to like Spotify, to Apple Music, Pandora, Amazon, all of that, they need a minimum of 6 weeks before the song comes out, that you have to get them all the metadata. You got to get them the single art. You have to get them the music, the master, everything, minimum of 6 weeks prior to when you want the song to release. And there's really no getting around that, no matter how big or small of an artist you are. You might have a little wiggle room if you're like a Blake, but not very much. It's kind of standard for everybody because it takes them time to make sure that they have their release schedules as well. Who's going to be the cover of the playlist that it's going to be on and all that kind of stuff.
That's right. See, and when you're talking about like, I think everybody knows now Spotify gets 120,000 uploads a day, but all the artists are releasing through an aggregate distributor of some sort. So that means all of the platforms get 120,000 uploads a day, right? So do the math on a week, 5-day week, do the math on a 7-day week, do the math on a month. You see why they need 6 weeks? Like, it's a lot of work.
Especially because the majority of songs that are being released, at least through a distributor, through a record label, all come out on a Friday. So you're competing with all of those songs. They're trying to come out on the same day. Well, what's going to differentiate you? So you really need to have lead time to have an excellent plan to have some success. And there's still no guarantee.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. So let me ask you this, Berkeley. When you guys are looking for like press at that point, what's the mechanism that you use to to make sure that Jimmy Fallon knows that Blake Shelton's got a new single coming out, and you can get a time slot in there, or the morning shows or whatever? Is it just a press release and they call you? Is it a press release plus your personal relationships and you're calling the bookers and saying, hey, Blake's coming out, we're looking at this week? How does that work exactly? And then what's the lead time on that you need so that you can slide in on that and have them all be clustered together, like you said, for the big splash?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I mean, having a great publicist is so key. Blake and his publicist, Wes Voss, have been together for, I think like 15 plus years at
Wow.
least.
Wow.
And, you know, Wes has all of the connections that you need to have. I mean, he is a
Mhm.
big time publicist. He is amazing. And so he's able to make those phone calls to those personal connections at Today Show, Kimmel, Fallon, you know, all of the places. But what you also have to keep in mind is when you're thinking about releasing a single and you're wanting certain TV appearances for press, well, they're on a schedule of their own. You know, the majority of these like late night TV shows, well, they aren't necessarily filming in the summertime,
Mhm.
or they're taking certain times of the year off, or they've got other things to focus on. I mean, like in a year like this year, where it's a presidential election, nobody is touching next week. You are
Yeah.
avoiding next week like the plague because
Yeah.
no one is going to be paying attention to
Right.
anything but people voting, who is winning, what's the drama after the election results
Mhm.
come out. So you really have to think in advance of how to plan for those types of, you know, random different scenarios as well. So really for a Blake release, having Wes on board very early on, you know, the moment you start talking about time of year, even before we have a final single date, he's reaching out to people checking on, okay, when are you filming? What days do you have available? Let's coordinate when we think we want to drop the single based on when we're actually going to be able to get the press.
So it's
So sometimes
almost
you'll move
like
that date around if
Yes.
if they can get a
okay.
big enough bang on a different date. So it's
Yeah.
almost like the rest of the world doesn't just exist only for Emily Ann Roberts or Carly
Mhm.
Pearce to
Right.
drop music. They got their own
Right.
stuff going. And so especially for independent artists, it's like you got to remember you're not the only, the world doesn't revolve around you.
Yeah, not at all. And
Not
man, I
anyone
mean,
else's world. Yeah.
a publicist is so worth it, but they are also not cheap. So it's really hard for artists
Mhm.
that are starting out to be able to afford having a publicist. And if you don't have one, how do you get the word out there? And
Yeah.
thankfully there are some publicists and PR teams who will do like they will work with you only on a song cycle or an album cycle or a tour cycle or something like that versus having them on retainer, you know, year
Mhm.
round. But there, like you mentioned earlier, with how many songs are coming out, think about how many artists that is. There's just not enough publicists and PR teams to be able to work with how many artists need, you know,
Mhm.
their special qualities.
Let me ask you this. One thing I've learned about publicists is that you can have a great publicist, but if what you're doing isn't newsworthy, there's only so far their talents can go
Mhm.
because, you know, their
Absolutely.
relationships that they have. And the reason they have those deep relationships with some of these outlets are because they respect what they're trying to do. We need ratings, we need readers, we need, you know. And so, what is your opinion? And maybe is there a different strategy that you're going to use with a Blake Shelton who's at the top of the food chain, okay,
Mhm.
versus Ty Myers, who's
Mhm.
brand new. Like, is what makes time is it worth it for Ty Myers yet to have a publicist?
Mhm.
Like, how does the strategies differ on those? If you could share that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if an artist has a record deal, which Ty does, he is signed with Columbia Records.
Okay.
So if an artist has a record deal, record labels have a publicist on staff.
Okay.
They're not only handling one artist like maybe a personal
Mhm.
publicist might, you know, they're handling the whole roster. But
Right.
at least for somebody like Ty, he does still have a publicist and, you know, their team at his disposal because of being signed to a
Okay.
record label that has a publicist on staff. Um, for artists who don't have a record label, for example, Emily Ann Roberts, unsigned artist,
Mhm.
we we helped distribute her music through Starstruck Records, which basically we created just so that we could get music out there. It's not
I
an
just say that I love that you're working
record
with an
label.
unsigned artist at Starstruck
She's
too.
Yeah.
amazing.
That's
She's great.
freaking amazing, man. Like,
Incredible. And her
Yeah.
growth over the past 2 years has just been phenomenal. It's wild. But so she has a publicist, Zach Farnham, and that, you know, a lot of artists who are in her position will have to pay for the publicist on their own.
mhm.
And
Mhm.
you just hope that you're able to work it out with a publicist. Maybe they're able to give you a better rate because, they really believe in the artist. They want to help break them. And then the goal is to stick with them as they grow and become, the next.
Right. And that's a feather in the publicist's cap, because I was a big cog in this machine that built this artist that everybody knows now.
Right.
And,
Exactly. So, it really depends. I mean, I think if you're not in an album cycle or a single cycle or having something you really need to be promoting, then you don't necessarily need a publicist all the time. It's really key to make sure that you are utilizing them when you have something to be talking about. Otherwise, like you just said, there's only so many favors that they can pull if there's not really anything that interesting going on talking about. They've got other stuff to be handling.
Right. So do you, just out of curiosity, when it comes to the way you release music with your artists, the release strategy on this, it used to be you release the single, you're going to let it cook up the charts back in the day, and then you're going to build up the demand on the record, then you're going to release the record. And now we have different release strategies that may or may not work for every single artist, but I think of like the Chainsmokers, for instance, who will, and this is one of the things like I love about their release strategy, at being like an older guy myself, I really love albums, right? The concept of this group of songs in this period of time is what this artist was about, and you sort of see that growth happen, and instead of just a vomit of singles, right? That aren't necessarily anything. Maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Like marking moments in time. So if they put out a 10-song album, they'll release every single song on the album and like build the album through the single releases, and then it's complete. Which side do you fall on? Do you do both? Like, how does Starstruck approach that?
So I think it kind of depends. I totally agree with you. I think the album, I hope it never goes away. It looked for a little while like it maybe was going to go away.
Yeah.
I think now it seems like people are really back in on telling a story through an album, through a collection of songs, a body of work.
Yeah.
But what you have to do now, because of streaming, you have to constantly feed the machine. So you've got two different types of song releases that you're doing. So basically, the rule of thumb right now is you need to be releasing a new song every 6 to 8 weeks. Like, need to be doing that.
That's the sweet spot for Spotify on the algorithm.
You've got to feed the algorithm. Yeah, you've got to be building your catalog so that if a new fan stumbles across a song, and it might not be the single that's currently being promoted, but they stumble across a song and then that's the only song, or you only have 2 songs in your catalog, well, they're on to the next thing. There's not enough to keep them around. So you've got to have enough of a body of work in there to keep them on your artist page, wanting to dive deeper into that artist to become a true fan versus just a blip because they like the one song. So minimum 6 to 8 weeks, you got to be putting out new music. So usually the way that we're seeing it done is you come out with a single, and that is like the main focus. That's what you are really promoting hard. You're doing an official music video, a lyric video. You've got a live version. You've got an acoustic version. You're doing all of the things to really push that song. And then 6 to 8 weeks later, you're not necessarily coming with the next single. You're coming with what we would call a soft release. And that it's still a great song. It's still going to be on the album, but it's not necessarily your focus track. But you're coming with that so that people who are already your fans and have been listening to that single on repeat for 6 to 8 weeks now, they need something else. So you're continuing to feed their needs while also pushing that main single to gain new fans.
Will soft releases go to radio, or is that part of the definition of a soft release?
No.
Probably not radio.
Unless they take off.
Right.
Yeah.
screaming and you're like, okay, we thought this wasn't a single, but apparently the audience
We were
feels
wrong.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You kind of
We
look at
no,
like,
we were right. We just didn't know it.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
so
Like, oh,
good.
I'm so glad we knew to put this song out. Now we
Yes.
really need to feed
I
that
fought for it to be on
song.
the record. I fought for it to be on the record. I knew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But so if you look at an artist like Megan Maroney, I feel like is a great example of a newer artist who has just been crushing it lately. And
Mhm.
she and
Mhm.
her team have really got it figured out where they had a strategy, it seems like, before they started releasing songs that were going to be part of this overall album package. Her albums have been telling a story.
Mhm.
And you can see that through like her current album, blue is the color. Like she's
Mhm.
wearing blue all the time. Blue is a part of all of the marketing assets. So you know that these songs that are coming out that look similar, that have this main focus color, you wouldn't think that that would matter, but it
Mhm.
does because it's part of the overall vision for the album. But to be able to do something like that, you've got to have all the songs way in advance that you know
Yeah.
are going to be on this album versus how some artists, they're writing all the time and they may not have all the songs picked out for the
Yeah.
album yet, which is why releasing a bunch of songs over time and then packaging them together as an album once you've got it all figured out also works.
Mhm.
It just seems like artists like Megan Maroney who are really telling a story right now, it's working for them because they are able to have that whole package figured out well in advance. And then they're just ready, boom, 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 one after another as time goes on.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
If I can hop, oh, you got to follow up
No,
that, John?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, well, my question on this is, man, I've known a ton of independent artists and people over the years. They're like, man, I need a manager. I need someone to help with this stuff. I'm doing everything myself. When is an artist ready for a manager? Because, I mean, the line is, well, there's got to be something to manage.
100%. 100%. I feel like
Yeah.
that might be a manager's favorite thing to say.
Yeah.
um, I think it really depends. It's definitely gotten harder now. It used to be that the first thing an artist would think they would need would be a record deal. But
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that that's the case anymore because the barrier to entry to putting out your music now is so much easier. It's so much
Yeah.
lower. Um, so you're right. There does need to be something to manage. You really need to, as an artist that is starting out, to me, I still think the most important thing for you is your shows. Are you getting out there and are you playing shows, not just in one area, but, at least in a region where you're working constantly on building that fan base?
Hmm.
Because if you're consistently playing shows and you're showing growth and being able to do, a door deal at a local club or a bar, and you start out and you're able to sell 50 tickets, and then the next year, you're at a bigger venue and you're selling a couple hundred tickets and so on
Hmm.
and so forth. At that point, that's when a manager can get involved because you're already building interest in your brand. And that's when a
Hmm.
manager can start to take that interest to the next level by going around and talking to agents. And maybe you're a phenomenal songwriter. You go get them a publishing deal,
Hmm.
which, as y'all know, once you've got that song that makes the big difference, everything really starts to fall into place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I think some artists think too early on that they need a manager, and there are some managers who will just nickel and dime an artist to death.
Mm.
And I get it. I mean, we all need to make money in order to survive for
Yeah.
sure. But with artists that are just starting out, charging them 15% on the 150 bucks they made on a show, like that's not right. That's
Yeah.
that's not why you're in this business. It's not why you're doing what you're
That's not
doing.
helping. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
That's
Yeah.
like a
helping.
parasite killing the host,
Exactly,
Good. Yeah.
exactly. I think the more that an artist can do on their own and really building their social following and building their touring following, then once they've really got that going and we're seeing consistent growth, that's when a manager can start to step in and help to like fine tune and hone in on what they're really good at and take them to the next level.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's for some artists, it's because I don't know what to do, or that's not why I moved here. I moved here because I want to sit in rooms, write songs, and step on stage and sing them, or just step on stage and sing them.
Right.
I don't want to do all this other stuff. I don't want to do the booking. But I think there's no way around that, at least to begin. I think part of it is like, I just don't want to do the work. So I want a label to go put the music out. I want a manager to go handle my booking, and I just go to do my little zone of genius or my happy place. And unfortunately, it's like, well, I moved to Nashville to write songs. I didn't move to talent scout to do all that other stuff. But here I am, right? If I want to stay, I got to do that too.
I think, unfortunately, at this time, if that is an artist's attitude, it's just not going to happen for them. It just
say that one more time, please.
At this time, loud and clear for everybody in the back. If you are not willing to do the work, all of the work, without a team, it's not going to happen. End of story. Period.
And can you also speak to, let's springboard off of what you just said and speak to, because I already know the answer to this, but with the team, you're on Starstruck. You're an artist that's on Starstruck, whether you just got there and you just got your deal like Ty, or whether you're at the top of the food chain like Blake Shelton, or you're somewhere in the middle like Carly. I want you to speak to how hard each of your artists work with the team that they have.
Yeah, let me tell you. Let's talk about Emily Ann Roberts.
Okay.
That girl works harder than anyone I've ever met in my entire life. I work nonstop, and she works more than me. And as an artist who really wants, if you really dream of being at the Blake Shelton level and you've made it and all of that stuff, you have to work all the time on all of the things. And there are so many artists who hate doing social media. And I get it. I hate doing social media.
Yeah.
It is so difficult, and it is exhausting and time consuming, and you can put so much effort into doing a reel or a TikTok or something, and it just falls flat for no reason. It just doesn't get picked up on the algorithm, and then somebody can do the exact same thing as you, and for some reason it goes super viral. There's really no explaining it. Nobody's been able to figure out why it works for some and not for others, but you have to do it. Emily Ann she writes almost every single day. She's in a co-write. And those usually start at 10 or 11 a.m. and go until around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But before that, she is up early making TikToks. She is planning what her outfits are going to be for a photo shoot or for a video shoot. She is personally online, answering her DMs, talking to fans, reaching out to people, trying to make new connections. I mean, she is a workhorse. She is on the road literally almost every single weekend, year round, playing shows all over the country. She's driving in a van with a trailer. She doesn't have a tour bus. A lot of times they can't afford hotel rooms. They sleep in the van. I mean, you have to be willing to do the grind in every single aspect. And it is that work ethic that makes the biggest difference. We have seen, because of her work ethic, her money that she has grossed, the money she grossed in 2023, she has more than doubled it this year.
Wow.
Because
awesome.
Of her hustle. Simply because of the nonstop. Brands become interested. Her social numbers are growing like crazy. And it's all because she is constantly feeding the machine, even when she doesn't want to. And it doesn't have to be perfect. She's not always full glam in an amazing outfit, doing all the things. A lot of the time, she is
in a sweater.
Hotel room. Yeah, in a sweater that she crocheted while on the road, exhausted, like just washed her face after playing a show. And she will get on there and do some sort of social content. And it's the realness of all of that I think really has resonated with people that listen to her. And I have worked with artists who have had everything. They have had the management deal, the publishing deal, the booking agency, the publicist, literally every single thing that you could have, every box that you could check, they will have all of it. But if they don't have the work ethic, it fails. I have seen it time and time and time again. And it is so unfortunate because it is such a waste of all of those resources when there are artists out there who would do anything to have those resources and who have the talent. They just haven't been found yet.
Yeah,
Living,
I mean,
breathing.
I've learned as I've
That's true,
invested a
Dan.
lot of time in artists that just don't have that other gear that like Emily Ann does, or Blake, or Pryor, or anyone that's being successful, right? Like, and I figured out I can't push rope.
You
Like,
can't.
I can't
No.
want your career more than you, and we can write some really good songs, but it's just not gonna feed my babies, and I got a lot of
Yeah,
babies.
you do have a lot of babies.
Yes, and they eat. I got some old babies that eat, and
They eat.
they do. And so that's one thing I've been looking at when, going, where do I want to invest my time as a professional songwriter? Like, well, this person seems great, but you know what? It's not a talent competition.
Right.
Here's this other person that maybe, may not, win The Voice or American Idol just based on vocal, whatever, but man, they drive, they work hard, they're smart, and it's like, I'm more likely to go over there and go, we're going to write some great songs, and we're going to do good work. I mean, you got to meet spec, right?
Yeah.
That's
And the
I'm not going
idea
for
that,
record
that the
deals.
bigger
I
you
suck,
get
but-
and the bigger your team get means the less work that you have to do seems to be prevalent amongst it's like, no, it gets to be more work. All you're doing is increasing your work. And the more you succeed, the more work you're going to have. And then you're required to have a team around you because there's too much for one person to do.
Exactly.
But that means you're still maxed out, man. Like you just talked about with Emily Ann. Like there's only 24 hours in a day and you got to sleep some of them, but probably not as much as most people do. And the other aspect that I would love to hear from you about is when you have an artist like Emily Ann or Ty and they get this and they have worked up until they got to the point to be able to be on Starstruck, okay, where they have done everything. They have an idea and an understanding and a history of how this certain thing that they're trying to do that now you're going to help them with is supposed to work. And can you speak to like how that collaboration works now? Because now they got a vision and you're going to help meet that vision. And it's not you teaching them as sometimes they're teaching you, right? No, for me, this works differently than maybe another artist, and here's why. So, I mean, I don't know if you got a story or just you can just sort of generally speak to how that matters,
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think one of my favorite things that Narvel, my boss, the manager of all the artists, who he's my mentor. It's why I've been at Starstruck for almost 10 years. I have learned so much from him and continue to learn so much, but he also really lets me spread my wings, which is probably why I've learned so much. But he always has so many great little nuggets of wisdom because he's been in this business for forever. I mean, like he managed Reba and Kelly Clarkson, Blake Shelton. I mean, he has been involved in so many artists' careers that we don't currently manage, but who have gone on to be massive. And so he's learned a lot, made plenty of mistakes, had plenty of successes. And he's really great about sharing those anecdotes with not only his employees, but with his artists. And one of my favorite things that he has ever said to me and to some of our artists is that we are not managers to get in the way of what an artist is supposed to do. They are supposed to write the music. It is on them. They're the creatives. They are supposed to make the music. We are supposed to support them and help elevate that music after they've figured it out. If they want our opinions on, hey, what do you think of this song? Or I'm not really sure if I like how this is produced. Do you have some notes? I would love your ears on this. We are more than happy to jump in on that. But we're not getting in the way of their creative process. So I think it's really important for teams of artists to understand what their role is and also what their role isn't. Because you've got to let the artist do their thing. Otherwise, what are we doing? But the artist also really needs to be open and to understand that if you want a manager, you need to be willing to listen and you need to be able
to be managed.
Constructive criticism, like we're here to help you, but you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. So, you can get to a point with an artist where, you've done everything that you possibly can, and it's just not happening. And a lot of the time it's because the artist, unfortunately, is just, they're not listening, they're not taking the advice. There's just no point in you trying to manage them because they're basically unmanageable.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a really tough spot to be in because they could be so talented, but they're just getting in their own way. I saw this
$1 million
really
voice and a 5-cent head.
Exactly. I saw this really funny meme. I think it was on maybe assistants versus agents on Instagram or something a long time ago. And it was basically saying having a manager and not listening to your manager is like being a lifeguard for Olympic swimmers. Like, what is the point? There isn't one,
Right.
It's just there's no need to have that person there if you don't actually need them or if you're not going to be a willing participant in the overall process. So, and there are times when we butt heads and you're not always going to agree, but that's okay. You don't have to agree. Ultimately, it is the artist's decision. It is their career. So if you feel differently than they do about something and you have spoken your piece and given examples from your career and from what you've seen working with other artists and stuff, if they are absolutely not having it, that's their decision. But if that decision doesn't go the right way, hopefully they learn from it and hopefully you as the manager learn from it and y'all can move on together. It's not always a home run. Sometimes you're going to strike out and you just have to analyze, okay, what did we do wrong here? How do we move forward? And you hope that you can do that together.
Interesting. Speaking of kind of artists and supporting what they do, one thing I've noticed with, say, Emily Ann, because I've been blessed to write with her once, and we wrote a country song, and then she also put out The Building for, I guess, a Southern gospel. I think it was moved to that market, and she's a believer. She can do that, but she can also do the country stuff. And like with an artist finding a lane, like, are there conversations? And there's a lot more country crossover with like, excuse me, progressive Southern gospel and with CCM, but like with Ann Wilson and that kind of stuff. Like what, obviously nothing that we're not privy to, don't tell us anything we're not supposed to know, but like an artist like Emily Ann who could, she can swim in some different waters here.
Yeah.
What's that kind of conversation look like going, do we really just want to niche down and go, let's go hard in this area?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So The Building, that song, it's a career song. It's such an incredible song. And it's just so beautiful. And when she cut it and we heard it, it wasn't because this is about Jesus changing your life and about your home church, it can't go to country. That's not how we thought about it at all. Country just didn't really pick up on it yet, So, it's to us, that song is like Jesus Take the Wheel for Carrie Underwood. It really feels like it could be massive in both genres.
Yeah.
So we were really open to working it on both sides of the fence. And I think it really just kind of depends on who the artist is and what their feelings are on it. You want to be careful not to pigeonhole the artist. So like that song we did send out to like Enlighten on Sirius XM, which is the Christian station on Sirius XM and stuff like that. So we were more than willing to do that. But when she wants to be a country artist specifically, we just have to be careful that, like, let's say she wrote another song that was amazing, but that was also very Christian and gospel leaning. You don't necessarily want to release that right after you release The Building because you don't want to pigeonhole her into only that genre if her goal is to be more in the country genre. So I think it's really just taking it on a case-by-case basis and letting it work itself and see who really gravitates towards the song.
Interesting. I like that.
And she still plays that song in her set all the time. Like she was out on tour with Blake Shelton last year, and that song was in her set every single night. She got standing ovations all the time. And it's just because it's a powerful song and you don't have to be Christian to resonate with what it's about. You don't have to be a believer in God to feel like there are things that ground me into my home, and this song speaks to me in that way. For
Yeah.
her, it's her faith and her church, which is incredible. But we've had people come up to her after shows and be like, I'm not a believer, but I had this school or this community or whatever the case might be, and I could really connect with what you were talking about and the feelings you were talking about in this song, regardless of it being faith-based for you and not faith-based for me.
Yeah.
So cool.
And also for her, it's consistent with herself, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, because she's not doing the drinking, cheating songs. At least she hadn't yet, right? And
Well,
so
she does
it's
have
not.
one cheating song. He set her off.
Oh well, yeah.
But it's
He
not
set
like
her
a
off.
usual.
Well, he set her off, right? But it's not her.
It's not her. Yeah, it's her telling
Her
a
doing it.
story.
She can tell a story. You can tell any story,
Song. Yes,
but it's
yeah.
not incongruent with like her, like what she's showing as her brand as a person.
Right. I
Well,
think
then
being
it feels
authentic
natural.
is so key for an artist, and she's really great at that. And she had so much fun shooting the music video for He Set Her Off because she got to play that part, even though that's not something she has had to go through, thankfully.
Right.
But man, it resonates with a lot of people out there who have had to go through that experience. And sometimes you as a songwriter, you're not writing for yourself, you're writing for what other people have gone through that maybe you don't have any idea what that experience is like, but you lean into it when you can imagine what going through something like that would be.
Yeah. So I to wrap this up, like I'm curious about your thoughts and Starstruck's thoughts on the efficacy of radio to launch an artist. Like I feel like, for somebody like Blake Shelton at the top of the food chain, radio makes sense, and he's going to get all the spins, and the juice, the financial juice is going to be worth the squeeze. That'll be the label, obviously, dealing with that. But in terms of when you get Emily or when you get Ty, man, are you thinking radio is going to launch that, or are you doing other things to try to build them up enough before you go to radio? Is there general sort of stair steps there that you guys adhere to?
I think it depends on the artist and what type of music they're making. I mean, country as a genre doesn't describe all the little subgenres.
That's right. Yeah.
It's
massive.
And there are certain types of country that don't really have to be on radio to be popular. I mean, you look at like Zach Bryan. I mean, dude does not need radio, and he is massive, selling out stadiums all over the place. He has his own niche following that is rabid for his music, and you're really consuming all of that via streaming and YouTube and stuff like that. So you have artists that are like that, like Sturgill Simpsons and stuff like that, who don't need radio. And that's because I think a lot of people that still listen to country radio, they don't necessarily have access to streaming or really use streaming. They're still very much reliant on radio. And so they are listening to a different style of country that might be more of the 90s country style and stuff like that, where you're hearing more of that classic country on the radio. So for somebody like Blake, like you said, radio is still very important to him and to his career, because a lot of his fan base still very much listen to radio in addition to using streaming. So for an artist like Emily Ann or like Ty Myers, a lot of their numbers are coming from streaming. And now, if you are going to take a song to radio, what they always say is you have to have a story. What's the story that's going to make this stand out as far as radio is concerned? Why play this on the radio when they only have a minimal amount of time to program versus something else that might be similar? So a lot of times with radio nowadays, even if it's a phenomenal song, they're not going to play it unless it has millions and millions and millions of streams. And you've built that overall digital story before you take it to radio. So it can really be, it's so touch and go, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And what I've seen quite a few newer artists do is as they're building their streaming story, they'll go to secondary radio and see how it does with secondary radio charts before you're actually dumping tons of
The big money, yeah.
going to primary radio. Because you also run into the issue of these stations, the reporter stations that are primary radio, where you're seeing songs go up the charts on like Billboard and Media Base and stuff. The individual stations, they don't have control over what is being played. They are being told by the heads of the conglomerates, this is what's getting played, and you have this 1 hour window at night to play what you want, at 2:00 in the morning, something where you might hear some new music you've never heard before. So I think starting off with secondary radio, like the Music Row reporting stations and stuff like that, they're a great way to test the waters and see if you've really got something, that goes number one on Music Row radio. You've got something. It's time for you to take it to the next level and put in that 100+ K it's going to take to start to work the song versus the 5 to 10K it might take to hire a couple of promo people to work the secondary radio. So I would start that way.
Right on. That makes sense. Berkeley, thank you so much for.
Yeah, this has been great. I have like 3 hours.
Thank you so much for having
more questions, but
I know I really want this to be like a Joe Rogan thing now, where we can talk for 2 more hours because I still got a boatload of questions.
I know, right?
And your answers are so great.
Well, I'd love to talk to you guys again sometime if you'd like.
We'll definitely make that happen.
Absolutely. Well, hey,
awesome.
Thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck with all your artists. And I just learned about Ty Myers, so I'm gonna check that out and
He's
go
popping off. Go check him out.
I will. Great. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode here. Make sure that that you look at on this. I mean, is it starstruck.com? What's the website for your?
Yep. It should be starstruck.com.
I think so. There you go. And check out some of these artists. We'll put a link in the show notes for you guys. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.
Who had a great